Well, as you all can see, we had to replace Brad this week because Chelsea got slapped. This is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly look at the Premier League from three friends who support different clubs. My name's James. I support Arsenal. Down below, that's Sean. He supports Tottenham. And with us tonight, welcome back. Everyone say hello. It's Jimmy. He supports Liverpool. Always glad to have you. Now, Brad might be back for the preview episode. We'll see if we let him out of jail for that one. But we are here to break down match week 13 for you all. We got the review of those 10 games that were played. Before we get into it too deep, if you could hit that subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell. If you're on the podcast site, follow, 5-star review, all those good things that will help us out. We really do appreciate it. Without further ado, Jimmy, how have you been?
Pretty good, guys. Pretty good.
I mean,
thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
it's always a pleasure.
Your team is doing pretty well right now, I would say.
We are exceeding my expectations. I think I had us finishing 5th in the league this year. I know TMZ was a little higher on them than I was. I was, suspicious of our depth a little bit and our attacking prowess. But I mean, our new midfield is special, and we have a different kind of depth when you have Curtis Jones coming in and starting over several of the other midfield. And I like Curtis Jones. Do I think he's a superstar? No, not really, but he's a good player. But he's playing maybe better than he has since I've known him for the last 7 years. So
maybe a bit more maturity, more experience.
I think so.
Helps out.
I think so. Yeah. And I mean, I think I've been on here before talking about how high I was on Harvey Elliott, and Harvey Elliott's kind of taken a back burner. That potential is kind of not being seen as much. He's not getting as much playing time. He's definitely a substitute. But the other guy, Ryan Gravenberch, has been fantastic as a new player. McAllister's been great. We still haven't really seen much of Indu in domestic play. In some of the European competitions, he's played pretty well. A little reckless, but he's played pretty well.
He seemed to be a bit of like a stopgap. Like we couldn't land our other targets, but he's available. Kind of just get him as depth.
Yes, he is. He is our depth. He's a very good defensive player. He's made good decisions. He's not going to be very creative. He can be rash because he's a little bit slower, a little bit late to react in some cases, and I think he's still got a little bit of deer in headlights for the Premier League going on. I think he'll settle in, but whether or not he gets enough playing time to fully settle in this year is kind of debatable. I don't see him, unseating McAllister anytime soon in that role. So,
and you don't need him to.
Yeah,
no,
that's the point. So,
well, speaking
he's depth and he's done well.
Of Liverpool, you guys faced off in Manchester this weekend against the champions. It was. I mean, I'm very pleased with the result. Personally, I'm very pleased with the result. I think it was the best result. Game ended 1-1. So the City and Liverpool split the points there.
I was happy with 1-1. I was nervous going into the game for more than one reason. One, because we were driving home from Indiana, and I had to squeeze the game in before we left. And since it was on Peacock, I got screwed because I got called up to eat breakfast, and by the time I got back, the broadcast had ended, and I couldn't watch the rest of the game for 2 hours.
That's the worst. I hate that so much.
Peacock needs to fix that. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was nervous about the game at City. It's always it's tough to travel, but the City's the empty hat. Everybody jokes. It's not the same kind of advantage as like an Anfield, but City's still a good team. I mean, we matched them pretty well. I honestly, this is maybe a little bit of a debate here, or to start a debate. I actually think Liverpool are a little fortunate to get away with a tie because I think City's second goal should have stood. There was a foul on the goalkeeper, Allison.
Yes.
Running into the goalkeeper, and he kind of dropped it in. it was soft.
Well, I don't want to ruffle too many feathers because I think that goal is eerily reminiscent of another situation just a few weeks ago where a goal was given for a gentle push. Some might describe it as.
We're not allowed to talk about that anymore.
Yeah, we have a blood pact not. But honestly, yeah, that goal should have stood.
So I gave it the test.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jack watched it.
Okay.
And he 100% thought it was a foul.
Oh, really?
And then later on, he asked me what I thought. Like, I didn't prompt him. He was watching. He was pissed when, and then it was fine when it was, like when it went to VAR, he was like upset. He's like, that should never go to VAR or whatever. And he asked me well after the fact, and I was like, that was a penalty. Or that should have been a goal. It wasn't a penalty.
What was his rationale for saying?
He didn't give one.
Oh,
He didn't give one.
Fair enough.
He just, I mean, that's the Jack thing. I mean, he says it's a penalty or not, usually. So,
yeah.
I think that's a good point about that one. I thought that one was, when I saw that, I was, I mean, I wasn't enraged because it didn't benefit City, but I was enraged for other reasons, let's say.
Yeah, it was a good game overall.
Yeah,
I think the 1-1 was justified. I think both teams had good opportunities. City probably had a few more,
which you would expect for the home team.
Yeah, but you would. But I think Liverpool played once they, kind of alleviated that initial pressure of the home side taking, kind of taking it to them and settled into the game. It was a much more even game for the most part. Honestly, the game was boring.
That's the same thing.
The vast majority.
That's the way that people describe the Arsenal City game, was that it was boring because it was just
you're playing not to lose
teams,
and you're playing not to lose.
Yeah, I think this is a question that I kind of my supposition coming into this game was that I thought Liverpool was going to win the game because I thought that City, while they have, I don't think City is as good this year, or maybe I think City is more accident prone this year than they have been in years past. I think you look at some of the goals that they conceded against Chelsea. I think that these are like some situations that normal City teams over the last 5 or 6 years, you wouldn't find them committing these kinds of errors. And I thought that Liverpool, if any team in the league would be able to capitalize on those errors, I thought it would be Liverpool. I don't know if I agree with that assessment of City.
There's a pretty good answer for that. It's they're missing Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That keeping the ball forward, not quite as easy. I mean, Rodrigo's still an excellent player, and Bruno Silva's still a great player.
Yeah.
They're still not quite the same.
If there's one team that's not allowed to complain about injuries in the league, other than Chelsea, it's Manchester City.
it's Manchester City. Yeah.
Those are the two teams that are absolutely categorically not allowed to complain about injuries.
Yeah.
Probably the nuts and bolts of the game, though, is I think all three of us would say the same thing. If you were asked in August, the fixture away at City, do you take a draw? I think all three of us would say yes.
Yeah,
take a draw
course.
At City. Yeah,
oh yeah, absolutely. That's what I was hoping for going into it.
I mean, my team lost 12 straight league matches against City. If you offered me a draw at the Etihad, I would absolutely bite your hand off to take it.
I mean, I go into that game thinking, hey, we got the early time slot again, which are generally terrible. Give me 1-1 or give me 0-0. Give me a point. That's fine.
Speaking of that, do you want a chance to respond to my comments on the early slot from last week?
Yeah, I believe my my comment that I gave you last week was the statistic I had heard a couple of weeks back. Well, I guess a month back when we had to play it after the last international break, was that Liverpool had, I think at the time it was like 14 of the early games on Saturday, and second was Spurs with 5. And you guys made this argument about, the best teams and this and this get the best time
I just
spots
said the feature spots go to the best teams. Typically,
But
you would want those.
but
You would want
everyone
the better teams.
but everyone else though is even, essentially, at under 5. So you can't really make that argument. And why were y'all saying that the feature spot is the early game on Saturday? The feature spot is the late night game on Sunday.
I think I said it's one of the featured games because there's only one game in that time slot.
One game.
There's only ever one game in that time slot, and so
all eyes on that game.
Yeah, that is a premier time slot, and then also the late game. But I think the 12:30 in England time slot and the 5:30, the 5:30 slot are obviously the two premier time slots.
So the other thing about that is which I didn't mention in my comment, but Liverpool's playing in Europa. Right, we all know that they're not in the Champions League.
Yeah,
Europa teams play Sunday, but Liverpool still gets it. Still, though, they generally keep the Europa teams on the Sunday schedule just to have it consistent through the year. But Liverpool, if anytime they come off for an international break, they get that first time slot.
Well, to be fair, this week was different because City played Tuesday in the Champions League, so they couldn't play Sunday in the league.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true.
So
that is absolutely true.
But they could have you guys could have been in the 10 o'clock slot. You could have been in the 12:30 slot. You could have been in any of the other slots. I don't understand why City wasn't like City Liverpool could have been the 12:30 Eastern American time or like the 5:30 kickoff time, the evening kickoff in England. That would have been. What game was that? Was it the Arsenal game that played in that position? I think so.
Arsenal, was it Brentford?
Arsenal, Brentford were the. I mean, I don't mind anyway.
Real exciting one there.
Hey, I think it was quite an exciting match. It was a snooze fest. So I mean, yeah, obviously happy with a point at City. Can't not be.
Oh no, I'm totally fine with it. And it didn't change anything between the two of us. We get a point at their place. We take all 3 at our place. We're ahead.
And that was my mentality coming into the season against City. Was last year we dropped 6 points against City. If we only drop 2 points against City, or if we take 4 points off City last year, we win the league. We would have won the league. And so I think my thought process coming into the season is take 4 points off City, and you are setting yourself up for success. So we've already taken 3. Hopefully we go to Manchester, we can beat them, but I would be very happy with the draw in Manchester against City. People have to check back on the preview episode because one of our teams is going to Manchester next weekend, and we'll have to see what they think about going away to City. But we should.
Speaking of not getting points at hard to play at stadiums, Chelsea came away with a big old 0 and a suspension.
They got smoked.
Madness.
They got smoked at St. James's Park.
Their captain gets 2 ridiculous yellow cards when they're already down 3-1. I mean, I don't know about you, Sean, but I feel like at this point, 12th place, was that written in the stars?
Yeah. I mean, that's where they're hanging around. I mean, to get the first yellow is ridiculous anyway. To get it for kicking the ball away. But then from there, you have to know you can't come in late and sloppy. Like you cannot. You can't.
The second foul was the worst. I mean, obviously kicking the ball away is stupid. That's a dumb one. But like you're on a yellow card and then you commit to a professional foul at that point. It's just
that's not a senior player who's your captain.
Yes.
Level of mistake.
Yeah.
It made me think of the Udogie second yellow in the Chelsea game. Of like how just silly it was and unnecessary, and you're not even like Udogie wasn't even so far behind the player that he needed to make a professional foul. He still could have, like, there were still things you could have done to defend this ball, but he's also 19.
Yeah,
you expect that out of a really young player.
There's a stark
you don't expect that of Reece James.
Yeah,
how many? What's Reece? 25,
24,
26?
something like that. I think he's 24. But how many games has he played in the Premier League? Probably 100, right? How many games has Udogie played in the Premier League? At that point, it was 11. So and that's assuming he played in every game before that. I don't know if that was true or not, but like it was. I think that those are starkly different situations. It's really bad.
He is only 23.
Okay, Reece James. But how many appearances does he have for Chelsea? Do you see that readily available?
Oh,
Working on it.
He only has 7 appearances for Chelsea because he's been hurt the rest of the time.
That's right. But he cheers a lot from the stands.
That's right. That's how we got the
captain.
captain. He's really good at the pom-poms. Yeah.
Quick math, we got about 50, 75. It's about 100 games.
Okay.
Yeah,
See, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I mean, I don't think we take too much away from this match. I think I was expecting Newcastle to win. I think Joel sent us his weekly predictions on Friday, and I think he picked Chelsea to win, but I think he was just dooming. Like, I think he was just being a doomer because of all the injuries at Newcastle. But honestly, like, the things that went wrong for Chelsea in this game is your 39-year-old defender just gifted them the third goal, and at that point, the game's dead. Like,
but I'll forget. If I'm a Chelsea supporter, I forgive that one because that's like the first time he's made a mistake, at Chelsea. And he, even at 39, I still value him as one of the best center backs in the world. And I'm a Dortmund fan, so I have Hummels, who's like 36 or whatever, who's also like can barely run. And Silva, I value over Hummels, and I love Hummels. So
I think Silva is good, but I don't think he's world class anymore.
I think he's just good enough to be in the right place at the right time because he's smart enough, and he doesn't have to be fast or athletic because he does make smart decisions with his positioning.
Yeah.
I don't know. Switch Silva with Dyer. What place do you think Chelsea's in?
Oh, they're like 16.
I mean, I wouldn't take Silva over either one of my center backs. Would you take him over either one of your center backs, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Who would you take him over?
Matip.
Okay, interesting.
And potentially Kanate. Yeah.
Who would you take him? Think of your first choice.
I would not take him over Verge.
Yeah.
No.
And now the Spurs. Would you take him over either Romero or Van de Ven?
No.
Yeah, I think the answer is no there too.
No, I would take him on the team right now to be the third. I would take him right now.
What's funny here is if we had asked this question and Brad was here, Brad would be scoffing at all of these answers. He would be irate that you wouldn't take him over Van de Ven or Romero.
Van de Ven.
I think he would agree with me on Van Dijk. But
yes. I mean, I'm not taking.
But again, I've said I would take him over the other two because I really value Silva. I think I've always liked him. I think he's a good player.
There's no way I would take him over either Gabriel or Saliba. Not a chance in the world for me.
But the thing with Van de Ven it's not really on paper. Am I saying that Van de Ven's better than Thiago Silva? Absolutely not. But we play a high line. We can't have a 39-year-old at the back of a high nine or a high back line. Van de Ven is extremely rapid, and that's saved us a lot this year.
Yeah. And I think you're thinking long-term potential growth and things like that.
Yeah.
It's like if and obviously it's a hypothetical question because Silva's not coming to any of the teams in the Premier League. Once he leaves the Premier League, he's going back to Brazil or Paris or wherever he wants to live because he's retiring. But I don't know. And maybe I'm just biased because he wears Chelsea shirt. That's potentially it.
I mean, play for Chelsea, play for PSG. I can't remember who else played for, but all teams I can't stand. Teams I can't stand, but I think he's a great player.
Maybe it's the Juventus in me that won't let me support the AC Milan player.
Same. It's the exact same problem.
All right, Sean, speaking of high lines, speaking of it is what it is, mate, can you, well, first let me say good evening. And can you tell us about the Spurs Villa match?
Both this game and the Wolves game were really frustrating because even though we played an Eric Dyer and Ben Davies high line last week and a Eric Dyer and Emerson Royale high line this week, I thought we were better. I thought we deserved to win. And like we said in the pre-production, we had a hat trick come out of the net, and there was one or two more that actually went in the goal, but were called back. And you look at the replay of all of those, they're all offsides. I couldn't even feel aggrieved at any of them. They showed the one replay. I'm like, yeah, he's off. That's it. So that was a little frustrating. I still thought there was a handful that went off the woodwork, and of course, Emmy's a great goalkeeper. So even the ones we did put on target, he's gonna save most of them because he's probably the third best goalkeeper in the league, right?
I don't
Behind
know.
Allison and Ederson.
So my thing about Martinez is you put an Argentina shirt on him and he is a monster. Like he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. You put a Villa shirt on him and he's accident prone.
He's reckless.
Yeah, like there's something different when he plays for his club that's not the same.
Didn't he win a Euro? Didn't he win a Europa when he was in Spain before he came to Villa?
No. He played for Arsenal before he came to Villa. He was the Arsenal goalkeeper.
I don't think he ever played for he never played for Sevilla that I know of, and that's basically the only Spanish club that wins in Europe.
I was thinking he was with Unai and came with him to Villa.
He was an Arsenal academy product. He came to Arsenal at like 13 or 14. He was pretty young when he came to Arsenal. He was at Arsenal for 10 years. He might have done some loans, but he never at like an established first team, not an established big team in Spain or anything like that. So he won an FA Cup with Arsenal though.
Yeah, well, you look down the regular non-analytic stats. I mean, on paper we outplayed them. It's 18 shots, 8 on target to 15 and 5. Possession, we had 62% of possession. Passes were crazy. 9 corners. I mean, we were definitely applying pressure the entire game. So, it's one thing that's been heartening when it should be disheartening with all the injuries is that Ange said we're not going to change, and we haven't changed. It's just plug and play in the same style. We're doing the same thing. It doesn't matter who the player is. It doesn't matter if we have 9 people on the field instead of 11. We're playing the same way, and that's it.
You probably would have done better with 9 people on the field instead of Dyer and Royal in the back.
Well, that's the thing, is that not having your center backs really cost you, because Ollie Watkins scored a goal in the second half where he's able to just kind of cut the 2 center backs and be in between them, receive a ball, and strike a great shot past Vicario.
Can you imagine my dismay when I saw the starting lineup unveiled and there's Emerson Royal beside Eric Dyer?
I have seen some center back pairings of Socrates and Mustafi, some Gabriel, Polina and Koscielny. I've seen some pain center back pairings in my day, so I can understand your dismay very well.
You had to be just living on eggshells when you would have Koscielny next to Mustafi with Xhaka in front of him when he was young.
Well, let's go back 4 years ago when half of Liverpool's center backs were hurt. We played Nat Phillips and Rayce Williams, a youngster, for the last 10 games of the season.
Yeah.
And they were great. They figured it out. They figured out how to work together, and we salvaged the season by barely finishing 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm trying really hard not to complain about the injuries, but at a certain point it does become a reason, not an excuse. But everybody deals with injuries. You got to figure it out. You got to get results, until everybody gets healthy. But Madison's not going to be back till the new year. Van de Ven's done for the new year. Bentancur's not going to be back till February, which is going to be really frustrating because that means our insurance is gone for the AFCON when we lose both Sarr and Basuma. And Bentancur, Højbjerg was supposed to be that. Now we're going to have to go Højbjerg skip and hope nobody gets injured because we don't have anybody after that. That's it.
Yeah, it's tough. Madison's going to hurt you guys, I think.
That's tough. Through the holiday congestion is going to be a really tough this next.
It's already. I'd say it's noticeable, but again, Spurs put in like 5 goals in the net. It's just the timing's. It's like the timing's off, and I don't know if that's just the different personnel, or it's just Spurs didn't have it.
Sometimes that just happens in a game where you're just not clicking.
They move around a lot, so sometimes in the act of the game, it's hard to tell where people are playing because they do move so much. But Kulusevski was playing a lot through the middle, and I think that's what they should do is put Kulusevski in Madison's role, and then have Heel or Charleston's been hurt, but Solomon would be great. Solomon's also injured, but yeah, it's dire straits over here, James. But you have somebody on the left, Son up top, and Johnson on the right, and have Kulusevski be that conduit that Madison was. I think that would.
I like the thought process. I'm just not sure that Kulusevski is quick enough at decision making and like split second, like, because like Madison's very agile. He moves very quickly. Feels like his center of gravity is quite low, so like he moves the ball quickly. And he's very attached to it, and he passes quickly and he makes quick decisions. Kulusevski is a bit taller. He's more lumbering, I think.
And he doesn't make good passes, but you're right. How would he be at making a good pass quickly?
Like an incisive, cutting the line pass. I'm not sure that that's in Kulusevski's wheelhouse.
Because if we decided to play Veliz, we could move Son back to the left and Johnson on the right with Kulusevski sitting behind. But he's been unwilling to go. Yeah, he's been unwilling to go with Veliz. He's 18. He's really, really young, and he's only been here for 3 months. So I'm sure there's still some figuring out to be. But we've got options. We've got. No, never mind. Ashley Phillips, also our young center back, also got hurt in the U18s.
You don't have options.
No, we're running out of them.
You've named 4 players. I'm like, well, that would work well if we did. Oh wait, we can't do that. He's injured. But if we did this, wait, no, we can't do that.
Yeah,
man, that's
it's tough, but it is what it is, mate.
It is, mate.
Gotta win games.
Yeah.
But both games, I felt like we probably should have won, and I don't know if you guys. I'm assuming you guys watched the highlights. The Lo Celso goal was incredible, but he's good for one of those a year. That's it. He's wasted it for the year. He's done. Retirement to the bench.
What I was gonna say is about like all of those goals that were called back for offsides. None of those go into like the analytics stuff. So if you were to add those into like the shots on target, and count them as shots on target, and the statistics would have looked even more absurd in favor of Spurs. I think that you guys obviously were good value in that game, but I'm going to go back to this. I think if Romero plays in both of the last 2 matches, in the Wolves match and in this match, I think you guys win them. Because what killed you against Wolves was just like 2 split-second lapses in concentration, and Romero tends to always have his head in the game. Sometimes he does stupid things, which is why he got a red card. Even though that one was a little questionable, but like he's generally always switched on. So I think in the Wolves game, he would have impacted that. And then this Ollie Watkins goal, just right down the center between your 2 center backs. Romero probably plays that differently. He's a little bit faster than Dyer. He's got better recovery. And I think that he's better equipped to cut it out, I would say. I shouldn't say that he would have definitely cut the pass out, but I think that there's a higher likelihood that he does it than Dyer does it. So I think I still go back to the fact that I think a lot of this does rest on Dyer. You can't rest on Romero. You can't plan for injuries, right? Injuries happen to all of our teams. All of our teams have injuries. Some have more than others. Some have more impactful injuries than the others. But you can control the way you play on the field, your decision making. And obviously Romero was maybe unlucky in the manner in which his red card came against Chelsea, but he had done plenty of stuff earlier in that match with kickouts on Colwill and things like this that could have been perceived as red cards, that he probably was good value for being sent off in that Chelsea match. And so it's like he at this point is one of the more senior players at Spurs and needs to not be doing that anymore. Like he needs to be on the pitch. Yeah. His best attribute would be his availability. And if he misses multiple games a year through suspension, then that's basically unacceptable.
Yeah, and like the one thing about him is maybe he doesn't prevent the Pau Torres goal or the first Wolves goal. Maybe he doesn't prevent those, but he's really good at, all right, y'all, tighten up. Maybe the second ones wouldn't have been allowed because you're right. Once he gets woken up, all right, we gave up one, we can't allow another one.
Yeah,
and then get the players around him to tighten up. All right, come
on. Jimmy, I don't know if you are keeping up with this, but the relegation 21-pointer we had this weekend between Sheffield United and Bournemouth.
Yeah,
big congratulations to Bournemouth. They have they have gained 21 points and are now sitting atop of the Premier League. So,
yes, they're on.
Congratulations to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
So,
unbelievable.
Good for them. Let us know. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought about Match Week 13. Definitely check back in with us later this week. We'll have a preview for Match Week 14 and potentially parts of Match Week 15. We've got some midweek Premier League games coming up in a week, and yeah, so lots of Premier League football coming up. We're getting into silly season, especially in England. So. Hit us up on Twitter down below. That's at whiteheart_Sean. I'm at James Tiffany. That's team. Are we pronouncing it Duggan or Dugan? How would you?
Dugan.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
it's the phonetic spelling of the mispronunciation of my last name.
Okay, there we go.
Yes.
So hit us up on Twitter or X, as Brad would remind me. And at redcard_radio is all of our socials. Hit us up in the comments, and we will see you guys later this week. Have a good one. And Jimmy, as always, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Anytime, guys.